So I'll just start by introducing myself and then we'll get into it. So my name's Claire Cleary, and I'm a certified life coach and stop over drinking coach. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, over drinking and what you can do to drink less. So this is for you if you spend a lot of time thinking about your drinking, if you're, thinking about during the day, if you're going to drink tonight, that you're drinking too much, if you wake up in the morning thinking that you drank more than you wanted the night before, if you've been trying to cut back how much you're drinking and you're finding it too difficult, if you keep making promises to yourself and, you'll only have a couple tonight, or you're going to wait till later in the week, and then you wind up negotiating with yourself and breaking those promises. This is for you. So this isn't for you if you consider yourself an alcoholic and you think that you need medical help, or if you feel like you need to be inpatient or outpatient. I'm not a medical doctor, okay? So these are for people who have just gotten to the point where you're drinking more than you want, probably on a regular basis. Some people come to me and they're drinking, every day or most days of the week, and they don't want to do that. Some people are drinking more than they want each time that they're drinking. So either of those things. And this is for you if you want to totally stop drinking, that's fine. But basically everyone that comes to me still wants to drink. They're just drinking more than they want and feel like they don't have the control over it. They kind of feel like they're drinking against their will, or they're making plans and then they're just breaking the plans that they have. So maybe you've tried to do a, sober October or January, you made a New Year's resolution, and maybe that worked for you for maybe the whole month, maybe only a week, maybe you were able to do it, but you felt like you were using willpower. Like the whole time you were counting down days, wishing that you could have a drink, feeling deprived, feeling like this isn't fun. This isn't how you want to live your life. You feel like you should cut back, but you're not happy when you do. You just don't want it to be such a big problem. You want to be able to take it or leave this. And you feel like if you could just get this under control, then you would feel so much better. And you're wondering why, other people don't seem to have this problem. So this is all, I can relate to all of this. I did this myself. I, little by little got to the point where I was drinking every day of the week. I started out just drinking on the weekends, a glass or two, and then I increased what I was drinking, and then I started Thursday, Wednesday, and I got to the point where each night when I would get all my stuff out to make dinner, I would pour myself a glass of wine, then, maybe a second one before my husband even came home and we had dinner, then with dinner, another glass, and then after dinner, a glass and a bottle. It would be a bottle a night, like no big deal. And I knew this wasn't healthy and I didn't feel great about myself, but I was still waking up in the morning and working out and functioning and felt basically okay. So I had this I think I'm okay, but I know this isn't healthy. I, sometimes woke up and was nervous about, did I say something the night before or do something that I regret? But I still wanted to drink when I got home, and I was constantly in conflict and just having all this mind drama, thinking about it so much and just wanting it to not be a big deal. So I'm assuming that you guys can relate to at least some of that. And I'm going to talk to you today about why maybe you've been struggling, why I assume that you've been struggling so far, and what you can do to actually cut back in a way that is not so, doesn't make you feel so deprived, doesn't make you feel like you're missing out or you're not able to relax, and something that you can sustain long term. So how this is going to work, I said at the beginning, but if people joined a little later, if you want to ask me a question, there's Q&A at the bottom, and you can just click on that, and then you can type your Q&A in, and I will try to answer all of your questions. You won't be coming on live to be coached by me during this webinar, but we will be able to interact during the Q&A. Okay, so even if you leave this and we don't, speak again or work together, then I still feel that this is going to be worth it for you if you're struggling to cut back. You're going to learn something here that you're going to be able to use. So, like I said, I had gotten to the same point that probably a lot of you were at, where I was struggling to cut back, feel bad about myself. I, would try and say I'm going to go for a certain amount of days, and I was never able to do that. So the problem with doing that type of thing, where we're just restricting ourselves, is what happens. I mean, if you have children, you're probably familiar with telling your kid they can't do something, and then that's all they want to do, right? It's the same thing with ourselves. When we tell ourselves that we can't do something, that we can't have the drink, that we shouldn't be having the drink, we're thinking about it. And so our focus becomes on how much we're allowed to drink, what we're missing out by not drinking. And it just kind of makes the situation more of a problem in our minds because we're so focused on this. The other thing that happens is we've developed a habit. You've probably been drinking for many years, right? I know I was drinking for over 30 years. And now you've taught yourself certain things that you're probably not even aware of, right? The biggest thing being that when you have the urge for the drink, and then you actually have the drink, you feel a relief, right? So you're like having this urge, you want the drink, you drink, and then you feel better. And so what you've taught yourself is that the drink does relieve the urge. So you've gotten yourself into the cycle where you have this desire, and the way to feel better about that is to have the drink. That's all you know. So if you've been trying to drink less and have a problem, it doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to do this. What it means is that you've taught yourself these things over probably many years. You've gotten yourself into this habit, and you just haven't used the right method to kind of unlearn that and teach yourself different things. So that's what we're going to talk about. The other thing is, as you have that drink, you probably think of it in terms of, raising your, not metabolism, but you increase your tolerance, right? So you have a drink, and the first time you're having a drink, you get that dopamine hit. But the more and more you drink, it takes more glasses to feel that same way. So you keep increasing that, you keep wanting to have more. And that's another reason why you may be increasing the actual amount that you're drinking. So how my approach is different is that we're not only focused on the action of stopping the habit. It's not just saying, okay, you're not going to drink at all for this week or month, or you're only going to limit yourself to one glass. We do work on the habit. We do work on, if you're used to getting all your stuff out to make dinner and getting that glass of wine, we work on breaking the connection that you have to that time or the place, but also the reasons why it's actually so hard. And what that has to do with is your thoughts about it. So what we look at, the thoughts that you have about drinking, and you're probably, again, not even aware of this because it's happened so quickly or you've been doing it for so long. So it could be as easy as, I want it. You walk in the door after a long day and you're like, oh, what a day. I deserve it, right? It's a treat. It's my time. I want to relax. I'm stressed. The glass of wine or whatever you choose will make me feel better. It's those thoughts. It's not the actual drink itself. It's the thoughts that this is a relaxing thing to do. So we start by looking at those thoughts and what you are actually looking for out of the drink. So you may think, well, that's easy. I know that. I know that I find it easier to relax or distress. I know that when I'm out with people, I think it's fun and I want to fit in, but we go even deeper than that. So what I encourage you to do is, and this is what I start working with my clients on, is just starting to notice those thoughts. When you first go and, at that end of the day, whatever time it is, and feel like you have the urge to have a drink, stop yourself. You can still eventually have the drink, but just stop yourself and notice, what exactly am I thinking? And it really helps during this process to be journaling stuff down, to be able to write down what your thoughts are so you can go back and look at it, because those are going to be the keys, working on those thoughts to changing your process, your habits, how you think about this, how you feel about this, and long term. And this, by the way, everything we're going to talk about here also goes same process if you are struggling with what you're eating and trying to take control of what you're eating. A lot of people I know are working on both of these things. And I advise that you only work on one at once, but this process will help you with other things in your life. So we look at what you're thinking. And I also start having people write down all their thoughts about drinking and making one list of all the things that you think are bad about drinking, which is why you're probably considering drinking less, right? That it's not healthy, it makes you feel, tired in the morning, makes you feel stressed in the morning, worrying about, what you might have done. You're spending too much time thinking about this. Write all those things down. Then make a list of the good things about drinking. This is what we often avoid when we're trying to cut back. We focus on the bad things, right? But it's the good things that are making it hard for you to cut back. So your list of good things could be, it helps me relax, I enjoy it, it tastes good, it's a way to connect with my friends and family when we're out, it's social, it's fun, all of those things. And eventually we dig into those good things and ask, are these things true? Like, do you really deserve it? Well, don't you deserve something that makes you feel good all the time, makes you feel good as well in the morning, makes you feel good about yourself? Don't you deserve something that has, effects that will make you not stressed and not have this like internal conflict, questioning these things, asking if they're true. And even if they are true, how is it helping you to believe them? Clearly it's not, right? So let's work on focusing on other things. So it's not about just pretending alcohol's bad. I don't think it's bad or good, and I don't think you drinking a certain amount is bad or good. A lot of people have a thought in their minds like drinking 1 or 2 is okay, but 3, 4, or 5 is bad. And when you're looking at it that way, it also kind of keeps you stuck because you're doing a good or bad thing. And when you start having judgment, when you have judgments about alcohol, then you're also judging when you're out with friends and you're watching other people drink, start judging what they're doing. We don't want to have judgment at all. We just want it to be, imagine there's a food that you really could care less about. Like you could eat it, but you don't mind. I always think about cheese because I know some people go like crazy over cheese. So for me, I think about like if I go into a buffet and there's like platters of cheese and some people are like eating a lot of it and I'm like, I could take it or leave it, right? That's how you want to be about the alcohol. Like if you take it, if I have it, I can enjoy it and be like, oh, this tastes good, talk about it. But I can also not have it and have it not be a big deal, right? What would that be like if that's how you felt about alcohol? You could have it and it would be nice, but you don't feel the need to have it to make your experience better, to make you feel better. That's the goal. So we start out by number 1, talking about looking at where you are, what your thoughts are about alcohol. Then we think about where you want to be. So that's something I ask people when we first talk about coaching together. It's, so what's your goal? Because, some people want to just still be able to drink every night, but only have one. Some people only want to be drinking on the weekends, whatever. Again, I have like no judgment about this. It's whatever you want that works for you. And you should decide what works for you and also not have judgment about it. If you feel good about your decision, then that's great for you, right? So you decide whatever it is. I want to have this many drinks in a week and in a night. And then I want you to start envisioning that person. So imagine if you start working on this now, in 6 months or a year, that you've become that person that only drinks 2 a night, whatever, 5 nights a week, whatever it is. Imagine her and start to think about what her day is like, what she's thinking about, right? So you're going to get to the point where you're not thinking so much about the alcohol. So instead, what are you thinking about? Imagine walking into the restaurant to meet friends and sitting down at a table with a lot of people. What are your thoughts going to be? I know that when I was drinking, my thoughts were like, where's the waiter? When's he going to take my drink? Where, he took the order. Why isn't it, where's my drink? Where's my drink? My drink's empty. And then I'll finish my drink and I'll be looking around and like, okay, only one other person finished their drink. I need to wait before I order. All that drama. So when you're beyond that, like now I go in and I'm just like enjoying my friends and enjoying being there. It's really so freeing to get to this point. And, you're probably at a place where you can't even imagine that. And I was there too. And I just really, really want to emphasize the fact that it's totally possible. A lot of my clients don't believe it for even months in as they're doing the work. And little by little, it's working. And they get to the point and they, say, like, I really, even when I started, I didn't think it was going to be possible. And I promise you, it is. So you're going to start imagining that future you, and where you're going to start working towards that, like living into that, right? So what would it be like? What would I be thinking about on a daily basis? What would I be doing differently? What would I not be doing? And some of these things you're not going to, jump to right away, but just kind of have that vision in your mind of what that's going to be like. Okay. Then the third thing is you're going to really commit to doing this. So you may have done these sober months before or committed before to other things and then not done it. So when I say committing, I mean committing to doing it, even when you have a like quote unquote setback or failure. You commit to doing it until you get to the place where you want to be. It's not, I'm going to try a little bit and see how it goes. If you commit to doing it and do the work, you can totally get there. And yes, there are going to be ups and downs. You're going to feel really great. You're going to have progress. And then suddenly you're going to have an urge and be questioning, why am I still having this? And it's all part of the process. But if you commit to keep going, I promise you, you'll be able to do it. And again, this is with other things as well. It's with the food, it's with starting your own business, whatever it is. Commit to doing it till you get to the goal. And then each day working on that commitment, like recommitting to yourself. Okay, number 4 is plan and do the work. So this means actually thinking in advance about what you're going to be drinking. So we have 2 parts to our brain. We have the primitive part of our brain that just wants to keep us safe, have things be easy for us, make it that we do things with as little energy and, risk as possible. So in the case of having an urge, the thing that's going to be the easiest and make us have the least amount of pain in the moment is having the drink, right? So if you just leave it till you're like at the party and feeling the urge, and then you start deciding, I'm sure you're familiar with this debate, like, should I have one? Maybe I should wait. I don't have too much. I'm going to be here for a few more hours. You're mind is going to tell you, stop suffering, do what's easy, go and get yourself a drink, drink that drink. So we want to avoid relying on that part of your brain. We want to use the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that decides in advance and considers what's best for you long term. So that part of the brain we use for planning. So what we want to do is in advance, and it doesn't have to be a week in advance, it could just be a day in advance, that you think about, okay, so today's Thursday, let's think about this weekend. What am I doing? Tomorrow I'm meeting some people out. I want to limit myself to 3 glasses. And I just want to cut myself off for a second and say that we start out with this planning and actually using quantities of drink just because it's easier to do that at the beginning. But the long-term goal is to not have you counting your drinks. But again, just being like, okay, I'm at a point where I'd like to have a drink. But at the beginning, it's much easier to just use the quantity. I'm going to stick to 3, I'm going to stick to 2 or whatever it is, so that you can actually be counting that and then looking at whether you stuck to that number or not. It's just a really easy marker to use. So we'll start out doing that. So, okay, you're going to have 3 tomorrow night with your friends. You're going out. So keep in mind, you're going to go out with your friends. You're going to start ordering drinks. And if you usually drink more than 3, then you're going to get to that 3rd one and you're going to say, oh, I shouldn't have said 3. Now I really feel like having the 4th. And what you're going to do is you're going to stick to 3. You can tell yourself, tomorrow I can have 4. Tomorrow you can have 4. That's fine, as long as you plan this in advance. Okay? Because what this is going to show you is that when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you stick with it. Because if you're used to making promises to yourself about how much you're going to drink and then not doing it, you've developed this relationship with yourself where you don't trust your word, right? You probably make promises to your friends and family. If you told your friend or child, like, I'll pick you up at this certain time, and then a little bit before that time came and you're like, you know what, I don't really feel like it. I'm just going to sit here on the couch and continue watching my show. You wouldn't do that, right? Even though you don't feel like it, you're going to do what you promised your friend or kid you said you were going to do. But we don't do that with ourselves. So we want to work on doing that too. You want to work on making a promise to yourself and then sticking with it. So we plan, we do the work, and then the last thing is that we deal with all the challenges that come up. We deal with why it was hard to stick to only 3. Again, without judgment, being like really interested, really curious about, why was it so hard? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? So this process at the beginning does entail a lot of thinking about it, but it's thinking about it in a different way than hopefully you are now, where it's more like, I should be drinking, I shouldn't be drinking, when can I drink? This is looking at the thoughts behind that. And again, it's part of the process, like with the counting, where we do this at the beginning, and then the goal is to get to the point where you're not thinking about this so much and you're not counting drinks. So this process, this looking at the cause of why you're drinking more than you want, why you're finding it hard to cut back, this is different from the way most other programs or people go about doing this, which is just relying on willpower and restricting yourself. And if you are scared to cut back, which I know I was, you're probably thinking it's because life is going to suck once you cut back, right? Like, what's the point of even going to a party if I'm not drinking, or I can't drink as much as I want, or I'm going to get together with people and I can't drink, that's not going to be fun. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to feel deprived. All those thoughts are what keeps us from actually taking the step and committing and working through those uncomfortable feelings to keep going. It's because we don't believe life is going to be better. right? You're like, no, it will be good for you. It'll be good for your health. You'll feel better about some things, but you're not really going to be happy. And so I also want to just offer to you that if you start just believing in the possibility, it's possible that I won't be totally sad. It's possible that I can still have fun without alcohol, as much fun. It's possible that, you know, I won't feel deprived. I know that probably all of this seems very unlikely. I can totally relate to those thoughts and feelings, but I'm also telling you that it's totally possible. And I'm coming up on 4 years of not drinking at all. Excuse me. Um, and I have to say that I've really even noticed in this past year that I felt even better. Maybe it's because over COVID, we weren't going out as much. So I wasn't having the opportunity to like be out with people and experience as much how I feel going out and not drinking. But I really found this new freedom in being out and not being so focused on the drinking and where my next drink is coming from and how much I'm drinking and other people, and just focusing on being out and enjoying my friends or the concert or whatever we're doing. And the freedom of like being a designated driver. I would never have driven anywhere before. I never did. But coming and going as I please. And the other thing that I found that was a little surprising to me, but now seems that it could totally make sense, is the confidence I gained from doing this, because it was something that I always thought was the most impossible thing in the world. Like there was no way I couldn't even go for a couple of days without drinking. There was no way I could go for a month, much less a year, much less come in. I mean, it still blows my mind. And the confidence of doing something that seems completely impossible it's just a great feeling. And it also, just makes you feel like you can do anything after that. So that is my webinar for you guys. So those are the secrets. It's not focusing on willpower. It's focusing on your thoughts and feelings, where you're now, where you want to be, commit to doing the work, making the plan, doing the work, and then dealing with all the challenges that come up. So I hope I've given you a few things that you can start working on your own. The next step would be, if you would like my help, I would love to talk to you about my coaching program. I work with people one-on-one. We meet for an hour each week on Zoom. And, I speak with them in between the sessions. And I love being able to help other people get to this place, because I know how awful it feels to be stuck in that spiral of thinking that you're never going to get out of it, and how frustrating it is. So if you guys are interested in setting up a call with me to talk about where you're at and if I could help you, I will give you guys a link to my website, which is claireclearycoaching.com. And if you go on there, there's a button that says set up a free consultation call. We could set up a time to talk about everything. And now, if you guys have any questions, I would love to answer your questions. Okay, let me just see here. All right, I can't imagine I could get to the point where I won't want a drink. I know it's hard to believe you could ever get to that point. And again, you might want to continue to drink. So you might still be feeling like, oh yeah, I want to have a drink, and that's totally fine. But it is possible. Is it better to stop totally? I don't want to. That's totally a personal choice. Again, I stopped totally because I started doing the work, and I started doing it by not drinking at all. And as I just got further into it, I just got to the point where I was like, well, I've gone this long without drinking and I feel really good. Why would I even go back to drinking. But I would say that everyone that I work with wants to continue drinking. Some have wound up later on, like cutting back, cutting back, cutting back, and later on they're like, I hardly drink at all. So it's really a personal choice for you. What if I can't do it? I'm assuming you mean if we were working together, if you can't do it. So I will totally customize our coaching based on where you're at and what's going to work for you. You know, like I said, I started with just cutting it out and dealing with everything that came up. Most people don't want to do that. They freak out. They're like, I can't go to having nothing. And so we don't, because the goal is for this to work for you. And if that's not going to work, then, you know, I'm not going to do it that way. We don't even start having you cut back during the first week or so. We're dealing with, again, like why this is a problem, what's coming up for you, what your challenges are. And then we get to the point where we start looking at how much you're drinking. So yeah, I know that's a fear for people, that they're going to be asked to just stop, and no, we'll do it on your schedule. I mean, kind of, I'm going to say, okay, let's try and do this. And then what if I can't do it? How much is the program? Do I have to pay all at once? So I have a 6-month program and it's $5,000, and you don't have to pay it all up front. I do have a payment plan. And the link, yeah, I will post it. I'm not sure how all of you came here. I will post it on my Facebook page to set up the consultation. But again, my website is claireclearycoaching.com, and you could set up a consultation by pressing on a link there. You guys are also free to just reach out to me. If you got this through an email, you can reply to the email to say that you want to set something up. That's fine too. Okay, any other questions? No, I don't see anyone else. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining. I hope that gives you guys something to work on, and do know that it's totally possible. And I am here cheering all of you on. I know you can do it.